Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser along with Justin D'Onofrio. And we got week 3 of the college football season, and we'll start in Madison. We'll start in Madison with the Crimson Tide of Alabama facing the Badgers of Wisconsin. And I know Wisconsin's at home. I know Camp Randall's a tough place to play, but I think Alabama's going to be hungry in this game. And I think Alabama's going to win this. I think they're going to win it convincingly. I think they're able to run the football. I think Milroy's going to have a big game. And I also think they're going to force a couple turnovers from Tyler Van Dyke. Wisconsin, they're 2-0, but to me, they didn't look they didn't look as impressive as they should have if they're going to beat a team like Alabama. I know that Wisconsin was picked to be around the middle of the Big Ten. I think it's a good game maybe for the first half, but I think Alabama eventually pulls away. And I got Alabama going to 3-0. I got them winning this game 30-13. But Justin, can Luke Finkle get his revenge against Alabama from when they beat his Cincinnati team 3 years ago? Can he get his revenge and pull the big upset in Madison on Saturday?
I don't think it's likely, but I think there's a possibility. I've been on this one 20-20. Alabama's very young in the secondary, and South Florida and Western Kentucky had a lot of wide open guys. They just didn't have quarterbacks that could take advantage of that. I don't know if Van Dyke's that guy either, but if he's feeling it that day and he can hit a couple of his open receivers, maybe there's a possibility that Wisconsin could pull it off. Bama too. I don't know if Caden Proctor is going to play in this one. He was out last week. And their tackle that went in for him, Wilkin Forby, he had 4 holdings. I think he had a false start or 2. He did not play well. He's very shaky. So on the road in Camp Randall, if he's in there, could Wisconsin take advantage? But, going back to Wisconsin's offense, they ranked 133 out of 134 teams right now in explosive plays rate. So their wide receiver, they really have not been that explosive. And then lastly, too, in this one, Wisconsin's captain, their linebacker, Dick Cheney, he's going to miss the first half due to a targeting call last week. So that could hurt the Wisconsin defensively, especially in the first half. But I do think Bama gets away, finds a way to get out of Camp Randall close. But, I think Wisconsin keeps it tight.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, if you're that bad with explosive plays, I just can't see them beating Alabama. I know they're at home, but if you're that bad with explosive plays, Bama's, the number one thing they're going to do. I know Saban's not there anymore, but Kalen DeBoer is still a really good coach. Got to a national championship game last year. They're going to stop. They're going to contain that running game. They're going to force Tyler Van Dyke to beat them. And you said lack of explosive plays is a problem. And that's a problem you're facing Alabama. I think that's ultimately a problem you're facing Alabama. And that's why I think Bama wins it by.
Yeah, I think that's possible in this one. I do think that's going to be possible. But yeah, I haven't liked the way Alabama's played. Like South Florida, that it's 42-16, but that score is a lot closer than
indicative. It was like a one-score game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and South Florida, both teams kind of just continuously shot themselves in the foot in that one. So again, like Alabama first road game. Milroe hasn't totally looked comfortable yet in this offense. early kick. I would not be surprised to see, this thing be a one-score game going in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it could be, but I think Alabama's just clearly better. I know they don't have Saban anymore, but I just think they're clearly better. I mean, Wisconsin, as I said, Wisconsin might give them a game early, but I just think Bama's just clearly the better team here. That's why I got them winning it by 2 scores. But it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting game on Saturday afternoon. Another big noon Saturday game, big noon Fox game. Let's see if a Big Ten team shows up, unlike last week, with the defending champs and not show up again. The SEC destroyed the Big Ten.
Yeah.
The SEC destroyed them. We'll see if that happens again this Saturday in Camp Randall. But we'll move on to a very interesting game. As you told me before the show, I'll give you credit. It is not a conference game. Even though these two teams are in the same conference, it is not a conference game. So very interesting. Very interesting that it isn't a conference game. But you got a team at Arizona that can throw the ball. You got a really good quarterback, McMullen. You got one of the best receivers. You got a team with Kansas State that runs the football. So two different styles. But I think this game is going to be up and down. But I'm gonna take the team that throws the football better. I'm gonna go Arizona here. I think it's close. It's competitive. It comes down to the end. But I'm gonna go with these Wildcats, the Arizona Wildcats over the Kansas State Wildcats. I got Arizona win this game 34-31 against Kansas State. But Justin, can Kansas State contain McMullen and run the ball with Giddens and pull off this win?
Same score as you, but I got K-State at home in this one. Avery Johnson's a really good athlete. They haven't ran him a ton yet, and I don't know if that's just because they've been saving him more for conference play. Because he's a little bit better for passes this year, but he's still kind of a wild card. He can, he can still be a struggle, so far from throwing the ball. But yeah, I think Kansas State's going to be able to do enough against the run game. They have been down a couple of offensive linemen this week at practice. I don't know if they're going to go this week, but I think DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards, Joe Jackson, I think they're going to do enough on the ground. I think Avery Johnson makes enough plays with his legs in this one. But Kansas State secondary, Tulane tore him up. So Fafita and McMillan, I think, could have big days. I know Saturday their score doesn't look very impressive against not a great Northern Arizona team, but it sounded like they held out a lot of guys. I don't know what their status is going to this one, but I do think Kansas State at home finds a way to get it done.
Yeah, this should be this is probably, you could argue, this is the best game of the weekend. You got two top 25 teams. I think and it's not played on Saturday, it's played on Friday night. So you could argue this is the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another sneaky great one Thursday night, Arizona State versus Texas State. Some playoff invitations there for my Bobcats. So yeah, some good weeknight ones. Even Kansas UNLV is a good one Friday night. So
you're really looking forward to that. Texas State. Yeah, they can make the playoff.
GJ Kinney to be the next big thing. Probably get the Baylor Texas Tech job a couple months.
Yeah, they can make the playoff. Yeah, you'll be probably tuned in tomorrow night to that Arizona State. Arizona State, Texas State. You think Texas State will probably win that game? You think, right?
They're 1.5 point dog right now, so it's pretty much toss up. Texas State's look good. Arizona State's looked a lot improved, but Texas State Thursday night, that home crowd's going to be fired up down there. Biggest one, I think, biggest home game as an FBS team.
Yeah, I bet. I definitely bet. They're going to be fired up. But we'll move back to the SEC. You got LSU, 101 LSU, go to Columbia to face 2-0 South Carolina. I think this is close, competitive battle, but I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback, and that's LSU. I got to win at 20. I think SC will run the ball, but I think LSU will score more touchdowns than South Carolina. That's why I got LSU and Nussmeier winning this game 27-23. But Justin, can the Gamecocks hand Brian Kelly and LSU their second loss of the year?
I think it's possible because Beamer has done this.
Beamer's done a pretty good job. Yeah.
Yeah, he's recruiting pretty well down there. I got the Tigers with 27-17. LSU, they got to abandon the running game. They're not great. They got to, they got two of the best tackles in the country, Will Campbell and Emory Jones. Against, Dylan Stewart, the 5-star freshman, who's one of the best already in the country. It's going to be fun. I don't know which side he'll match up on. But two of those, going against Stewart's going to be a fun matchup to watch. South Carolina, I don't love their offense. Landon Sellers, the freshman, he's a really good athlete. He's not great as a passer yet. They really struggled against Old Dominion a couple weeks ago, which is not very good. But again, Beamer ball, the special teams, if LSU's not disciplined, like that's been one of the knocks on Brian Kelly teams. Like, That's a great crowd. I've always heard William Bryce Stadium, like that's one of the better game day atmospheres. They got a great crowd down there, so I will be fired up. Game day's gonna be down there for the first time in like a decade for them. So I wouldn't be shocked South Carolina pulls it out, but I do think LSU's got a little bit more talent than the Gamecocks.
I think so, and I think that's going to happen at the end of the day. That's why I think LSU gets the win and goes to 2-1. But we got a pretty good matchup in Columbia as Bill O'Brien is a surprising BC Eagles 2-0 facing Missouri, number 6 overall, also 2-0. I think this is a competitive. I don't think BC wins, but I think they cover here. I think this is a competitive game. I think Castellanos has a decent game. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about Luther Burden and Brady Cook. And I think they have big games. And that's why I got Missouri winning this. I went by 2 scores. I got Missouri winning 34-20. But Justin, can Bill O'Brien, we've seen he's had a lot of success in college. The 2 winning seasons at Penn State this year, starting off 2-0. Can he lead Bees? Can he pull off another upset for BC and get them to 3-0? They're already in the top 25. Can he get them to 3-0?
I think they keep it close, but I don't think they got enough. I think Mizzou wins this one 31-20. Bill O'Brien, you talked, he's really good at scripting plays out, especially that first drive. Like if BC can go up early, kind of put Missouri on their heels there, they got a chance. Missouri's got a lot coming back from last year. They haven't played anybody yet. Murray State's one of the worst FCS programs. Buffalo's a bottom 10 FBS program right now. Luther Burden left the game Saturday. With an injury. I don't know if they were just cautious after because they were blowing out Buffalo or what. But Theo Weiss had a big day with 13 catches for 149 yards. BC looked really good in the trenches against Florida State, but I just think Missouri's got a little bit more talent. They're at home. They did play 2021. They put BC beat them overtime. That was a great game. It was 41-34. But I just think Missouri's got a little bit too much talent here. I think Brady Cook makes enough plays.
Yeah, I think Missouri's just the better team. But Bill O'Brien definitely turning around this BC program. Very interesting game. Very interesting game in the SEC. You got 1-1 Texas A&M going to 1-1 Florida, and I just can't take Billy Napier at this point. I just can't. I think he's going to be a coach that's going to be fired at the end of the year. I mean, Florida. You look at the first game for both teams. Texas A&M. They at least looked decent against Notre Dame. Florida was absolutely terrible against Miami. I think Texas A&M. I think it's a close game. I think both quarterbacks struggle in this game, but I think Weigman makes less mistakes, and that's why I got Texas A&M winning the game. I got Texas A&M winning it 24-20 over Florida. But Justin, can Billy Napier, get the Gators 2-1? But to me, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth because I don't trust either of these teams, but I'm going to take A&M 24-20. The reason is because in the trenches, Florida's offensive line is not very good. A&M's strength is their defensive line. And Florida on the defensive line, their interior pass rushers are pretty good. Their edge guys are not. They're probably some of the worst in the SEC. I don't like Connor Weigman. He's going on the road. That worries me. But I think because of the line, I think they make enough plays in this one to win it. Napier's got a very interesting decision. Graham Mertz got the concussion in the Wisconsin in the Miami game. He didn't play last week. They got the best court. Well, him and Dylan Raiola went back and forth as the number 1 QB prospect coming in. He's got the freshman. I have to imagine with your job on the line, you have to play the freshman and hope he can get you to 6-6 and save your job. He's a really good athlete. They have a poor offensive line. It'll be interesting. I have to imagine it's Lagway. He's I thought he had a decent drive there against Miami. Last week at Stanford, he made it a couple of nice plays. But I just think A&M, I'll take them very cautiously, but I do think A&M finds a way to get this one.
We got the Civil War. Now, this huge game is usually played on Thanksgiving weekend, but now it's week 3 because of Oregon leaving the Pac-12. And let me tell you, Oregon has not played that well. Oregon has not played 2-0, but they've not looked impressive. There's a reason they were number 3, now they're number 9. They have not looked impressive in the first 2, and I think it's the same thing on I think it's a close game on Saturday. I think Oregon State covers here. I think it's close, it's competitive. But I think the difference is Dylan Gabriel. I think he played pretty well last week. I think he plays well this week, and I think it's a close game. I think Oregon State runs the ball. That's Boise State's a stud at running back, but I think Oregon State runs the ball on Oregon as well, and I think it's a close game. But I'm going Oregon here. I'm going to go Oregon 30-24 over Oregon State. But Justin, can Oregon State get 3-0 and pull off the big upset over Oregon?
Yeah, they better be careful because they've been playing with some fire there the last couple weeks. I got the Ducks 20-17. Dylan Gabriel has already been sacked 7 times this year. Bo Nix was only sacked 5 times all of last year. There's been some question marks on the offensive line. They did have a center. Their center was a walk-on. They took him out in the second half and they moved their right guard over the center, and the offense looked a little bit better there. So maybe that's a sign of something to come here. But it's like last year with them. They're not very explosive. It was all at yards after the catch with them last year. They haven't really found that yet. And Dan Lanning, too, in that Idaho game, they're moving the ball up and down. They're just there's a couple times they could have kicked the field goal. There's probably a couple of times he should have punted. I just think he's a little bit too aggressive at times, which that's going to come back to bite you. And again, why DeBoer's had his number. But the Beavers have won 3 of the last 4 at Corvallis. They've ran the ball pretty well, but this is kind of their really first test. San Diego State's, they're totally new offensive system they're running. And then I'm blanking on the FCS opponent they played, but I don't think it was a good one. I like McCoy, the quarterback coming over from Idaho, led them to the quarterfinals last year, but I do think Oregon's just a better team, better talent. But Oregon better be careful because, again, the Beavers getting left for dead in the Pac-12, they're going to be looking for some blood here, so they better be careful.
Yeah, they definitely do. They definitely do. Yeah, Oregon State's gonna be very, very. They're gonna be bitter about not getting left out. So this is gonna be. I think this game's gonna be competitive. I think it's gonna be close. So especially the fact it's in Corvallis too. I think it's gonna be really close.
That place
is so wild.
A tough place to play. Yeah,
very tough place to play in Corvallis. So
some crazy upset.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is an upset. This is the story if this is the story of week 3 of the college football season. If Oregon State upsets Oregon in this game, so I won't be surprised. So very interesting game there. But we have another. We were talking about the Battle of Oregon. We got the Battle of Indiana. I would say because Notre Dame's not known as like a state school, but I'm not sure what they call it. But you got pretty much the Battle of Indiana is Notre Dame and Purdue play, and Notre Dame. This was the lead story in college football last week. Them getting upset at home against Northern Illinois. But I think this week they bounce back. They run the football. Riley Leonard doesn't make the mistakes he made last week. Their defense forced a couple turnovers from Purdue to turn the ball over a couple times. And I think this is a bounce back week for Notre Dame. I think they win this one 27-17 in West Lafayette against Purdue. I think they win it 27-17. But Justin, can Purdue pull off an upset? This would be the second week in a row Notre Dame gets upset. Does Notre Dame get upset the second week in a row?
I think the Boilermakers are alive in this one. And yeah, they don't have a name for it. They do play for the Shillelagh Trophy. I knew it was something they played for, but or they knew there was some title to it. But Purdue, they played Indiana State, which is probably bottom 5 FCS team. They got a vote somehow in the FCS coaches poll. I don't know how. I don't know who did that, but so they had them week 1. Last week they had a bye, so they've been probably prepping for Notre Dame all summer long. Riley Leonard, his not throwing shoulder is bothering him. I think he's going to play. But it's something where he's not a good passer. Like if if he can't run, I don't know what Notre Dame does. Notre Dame's not going to be able to move the ball. They do have Stephen Aguilar, who played a little bit last year. And then they do have Lloyd Card, the former Michigan coach's grandson, is a 5-star kid that's a true freshman who's a 3rd string. So they do have those 2 in the waiting wings. But Notre Dame's got one. They're the only team in the country, or they're last in the country. They only have one pass this year over 20 yards in the entire country. So that's worse than all 3 of the academy schools. So Purdue's not very good up front, but Northern Iowa, that wasn't a fluke last week. Northern Iowa was a better team in the trenches, which is stunning. And, that's not surprised with third time Marcus Freeman's lost a game like that. Marshall and Stanford a couple years ago, obviously Northern Illinois, but Hudson Card is decent. They're going to throw it around, but I do think Notre Dame's got the better athletes, and I do think they find a way to win, but I think it's like 24-20. I think, Purdue is very alive, and I think Purdue keeps this one tight.
Here's an interesting question on Marcus Freeman. If this thing kind of goes south, they go finish like 7-5, is his job on the line? Because you said it, losing to Marshall, losing to Northern Illinois, and the fact they're not good in the trenches. We talked about earlier about usually that's what Brian Kelly recruited, the trenches. He was big on the trenches, and it seems like Joe Alt might be the last great Notre Dame offensive lineman because it's struggling in the trenches. That's not Notre Dame. Is Marcus Freeman's job on the line if they finish like 7-5 or 6-6? This thing falls off. If this thing falls apart.
If this thing does fall like a 7-5, I think he's absolutely in the hot seat. I'd have to look at his. I don't know what his contract is. I don't know. I don't think they've given him like an extension yet. So it's a new AD too, because Swartzwick just retired. So the new AD, I don't remember who it is. I don't know if he's been in the system. I don't know if he's been at Notre Dame, if he's an outside guy. So yeah, we mentioned in the last show. Their offensive line's not great this year. I know they got 2 top 300 kids coming next year so far in the recruiting class. But yeah, like it's not a team that's great in the trenches. And again, you just had the biggest road win in a while against A&M. I know A&M may be great, and then they come back, turn around and lose that more than only teams. It's not a good sign. It just and then after the game he was like, yeah, we've been here before, but it's like, yeah, that's not a good thing though. Like that's something you got to avoid a game because that was not Northern Illinois was a better team. So if this team goes 7-5 with that schedule, I think they do, and they cost themselves a playoff spot. I don't think 11-1. Well, they're not going 11-1 now. They're not getting the playoffs, and with this schedule, that's a disappointment.
Yeah, no way they get in the playoffs because of that loss. Just no way. It's just very disappointing. It's just very, very disappointing. And Brian Kelly left for a reason. Notre Dame. It's just this program really for the last, I know they made it to the national title in 2012, but this program the last, 20, 30, the last 30 to 35 years, they can't get it done.
Yeah, it's the problem is they can't. All right, I don't like one of the reasons why he left for LSU is you don't have to go to the academic standards are so much tougher at Notre Dame than it is at LSU and a lot of schools. And again, they just can't get the same type of athlete in the Notre Dame that most of the SEC programs can. So that's kind of been the problem, and that's something that I don't think is going to change for Notre Dame. But yeah, they got to find a way to make that gap closer and find a way to kind of be able to do a little bit more with less. So yeah, it's disappointing for Notre Dame fans. And yeah, for a season that kind of looked at the last week, like, man, Notre Dame, you could kind of pencil them in, it felt like, for a home game round 1. Now it's like, you're probably going to the Capital One Bowl or something like that on New Year's Day.
Exactly. So rough loss for Notre Dame last week, trying to bounce back this week at Purdue. We'll see what happens there. But talking about another team that has to bounce back this week, another popular team, that's Colorado. They got beat by Nebraska. Oh, man, you must have loved it, watching them beat by Nebraska. And again,
I heard your comments last week. I did listen to the show. I heard
really?
7-5, going 7-5, 8-4.
Oh, yeah, I don't know now. I really don't know. It's just crazy that Deion really isn't improving the offensive line, hasn't really improved the defense. I mean, he was supposed to be a recruiter. I know it's tough to get kids to come to Colorado, but you thought he was going to be some sort of recruiter, and hate to say it, things really haven't changed. They haven't changed. Now I get why the people picked them to be the 11th. Were picked to be 11th in the Big 12 with Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. You would think with those two guys alone they'd win more games than they lose. But Deion, man, it's like they got you got an SEC guy as a receiver in a corner, a top quarterback, but pretty much low level Pac-12 talent everywhere else. It's crazy. It's just you think Deion was going to be able to change things, and he really hasn't.
No, but let me tell you why. I know we've talked about this a couple weeks ago with the Lions and the Niners. You got to build from up front. You got to build up front. You got to build in the trenches first before you can kind of start to spread out the wealth.
The quarterback's obviously the most important. You got to get the quarterback. But after that, it's got to be the trenches. You got after you take the quarterback, it's got to be inside. You got to go inside out. And the problem with Colorado is they're trying to go outside in, and that's the issue.
Yep. And you can't build your old line in the portal. You just can't. There's not enough talent in there. And the talent that's in there are going to the Bamas. They're going to the LSUs. They're going to those types of schools. They're not going to Colorado. Yeah, it was nice you got the 5-star kid. He's a freshman. It's tough to, you saw Proctor last year at Bama. He struggled for a while. It's tough. It's tough as a freshman. You're going against men. He's 17, 18 years old. His body's still not fully developed. So Look, with them right now, calling out the offensive line, Shador then calling out the offensive line, then leaving the field with 2 minutes left. He's destroying his own draft stock too at the moment, which it's not, NFL executives are not going to like that. And that's especially when that's coming from your quarterback. And if you want to call out your old line like that at the NFL level, you think they're going to pick you up and you get sacked. They're going to leave you there. Like, it's not, he's hurting himself. You could see Hunter was frustrated the other day. Again, then, him tossing reporters out. He's soft. He's soft. You can't criticize the guy. You can't touch him. And again, this Colorado State team's Colorado State is awful. I'm surprised how bad they are. I thought they'd be a bit better than this. Torrey Horton's an NFL wide receiver. Their quarterback, he was saying, he came back to Colorado State even though teams were offering him $600,000, which I do not buy that at all. I don't think there's any team dumb enough that would. He's not good. But again, the comments last year too with the Colorado State coach saying, grown men don't wear the sunglasses inside. Like there's a lot of beef in that game last year. Colorado State hasn't had Colorado come to their place since 98 or 99. Wow. So that's going to be, they're going to be fired up for this one. I'm going to say Colorado wins by 3 because I just don't think Colorado State's very good, but I wouldn't be shocked. And actually, the last point I want to make about Deion is too, he is a horrible in-game coach. He's worse than Cristobal. He's worse than any of those guys. What is he doing 2 weeks ago? So the North Dakota State game, I turned it off after they got that first down. You texted me again, and I was like, they just should have ran out of the clock. And I'm like, they're throwing the ball. Yeah. Deion's like, well, I want to get more yards. Last year in 2 overtime games, he took the ball first for whatever reason instead of going on defense. And then last week, I don't know if you saw, but before the half, there was a penalty with like a minute left.
Yep.
There was a 10-second runoff, and then Deion calls the timeout after the runoff. Not before wow. He's not good in game. I don't know where this program's going when you lose Hunter and Shador this offseason.
Oh God,
and if they lose this game, they lose this game, they're going 2-10.
I could see it. But I gotta win it. I gotta win it by 7. But I could see if Colorado loses this game, they're in for a very, very, very long season. Now, moving on to our last game, and it's against probably the best program in college football against a team that could be in for a long season in Kentucky, and that's why I think there's no contest this week when they play. I got Georgia big. I'm going 45-10. Kentucky's a mess. Lost 31-6 to South Carolina last week. Kentucky's a mess. 40. Give me Georgia 45-10 over Kentucky.
Yeah, I got Georgia 38-3 here. Brock Vandegrift, the Georgia transfer, starting for Kentucky. I've never seen this stat before. Vandegrift completed 3 passes last week and was sacked 4 times. He was sacked more than he had completions. So Kentucky's offensive line's not very good. Defensively, they're not great either. I really think that's Stoops has been he's done such a great job here. But I think the moment you remember last year when it sounded like he was going to A&M, like it sounded like he was on the plane ready to sign the papers. Having that 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I don't think you probably lost some trust in that locker room. I don't know if the players are totally buying in. I don't know. That might just be me. But this is a Kentucky team that I'm very surprised how bad they've looked. And that's just my opinion of why they may look so bad. But I think Kentucky this week, they're not going to do anything offensively. I think Carson Beck has a huge day. I think Trevor Etienne runs all over this Kentucky defense. And it might be a very long year for Kentucky. And Georgia's got to tune up because they got Bama coming up here. They got Texas in about a month. So, they got Tennessee and Ole Miss too. So they got some stiff competition coming up. So for Georgia, it's, another kind of last tune-up game here for Bama next week.
Absolutely. I would be up before Bama. I think on the 28th. The 28th they play, right?
Oh yeah. I think there is a bye. I think you're right.
28th they play. So that should be a huge game between those two teams. But we got an interesting race in the AL East. With the Orioles winning last night and the Yankees losing, the Yankees are up a half game. Before we talk about that, we will hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so the AL East race is tight, really, really tight between the Yankees and the Orioles. Right now, the Yankees have a half-game lead on the Orioles in the American League East, so they got a half-game lead. And the big question is which team are you going to give the edge to? Which do you give the edge to right now? We're almost 2 weeks away from the end of the baseball season, 2 weeks away from that huge series too, when they play each other. The big question is who do you give the edge to right now? The Yankees or the Orioles? And if I look at the schedule, I look at the Orioles schedule. It's very favorable outside of the end of the series with the Red Sox, but it's very favorable outside of the series with the Yankees. And then you look at the Yankees schedule, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you look at it, 4 with the Red Sox. I know the Red Sox still have a slim chance of making the playoffs, but very slim. You look at they go to Seattle, who has a slim chance to make the playoffs. Then Oakland and Pittsburgh at the end. So, and then the Orioles, they play the Tigers a couple of times. I think right now, I think it's the Yankees because they have that series at home. And I think their schedule is as easy as the Orioles at the end of the year. So I'm going to go with the Yankees. I give the Yankees the edge. I know they lost last night. Seth Lugo pitched a really good game, but I give the Yankees the edge to win the AL East.
I am going to take them too. Very, very cautiously here because the O's after the Yankees in 2 weeks, they end the last 3 games of the Orioles are the Twins, who are they're in the midst of a collapse too at the moment. So they're probably going to be playing for their playoff life as well there that weekend.
I don't know if you know that because I think they might have a spot. Even though they're not playing well, they might have a spot clinch by that point.
Yeah, they might. They are still 3 up, so they might be okay. Which could be beneficial. The Yankees got the Pirates, which they'll be finished. But yeah, the Red Sox would love to put a damper into that chance to win the American League or win the AL East, but I will take the Yankees because the O's just haven't played great of late. I think they get a couple this weekend against the Red Sox. Hopefully you go to Oakland and you sweep them, the Mariners, and then, you hope to win 2 out of 3. And then hopefully the pitching line is up for Baltimore, and it's just going to come down to who could kind of close out games. And I guess I'll take, hopefully Luke Weaver in the back end of the pen in the 9th inning. That, I'll trust the Yankees bullpen a little bit more than I do Baltimore's at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And then last week I talked about Clay Holmes, and honestly, and they haven't had Clay. The good thing is they haven't had Clay Holmes close out games, and I don't want to see Clay Holmes close out games because they out against the Cubs. That was the only safe situation they've really been in. The last 2 times I think it was Weaver that closed it out. So I do not want to see any part of Clay Holmes. And I think the advantage is if we have Weaver, Baltimore really doesn't have anything much better really in Craig Kimbrell. That's the real thing. That's the advantage the Guardians have. They have a guy in the 9th inning. Now their pitching might not be as good as the Orioles or Yankees. Their lineup is definitely not. But the Guardians have a guy in the ninth inning you trust more than anybody in baseball in Class A. The Yankees and Orioles, you definitely can't say the same thing. So I give the Yankees the edge, a slight edge, because they got that series at home, and they did change things up. They did move on from Clay Holmes as the closer.
Yeah. Yeah, they have moved on, which is good. And yeah, the Baltimore still figuring out. I know Sir Anthony Dominguez hasn't been great. I know Cano's closed out a couple as well, but yeah, like their bullpen situation is not great at the back end too. Yeah, that's the thing of the playoffs is the Guardians, and then naturally excited right now the Padres might be the only bullpen you trust over on that. And so yeah, it's gonna, if it comes down the late 8th, 9th inning, yeah, could Luke Weaver close that out? Does Tommy Canley get maybe an opportunity or two? How about Jake Cousins been really good too? So I know, maybe he's the guy too that you try out in that a spot. But yeah, it's for the Yankees. Yeah, hopefully Luke Weaver, it's kind of closer by committee, and they can figure it out because yeah, Combs has been bad, and it just hasn't gotten much better for him, and it kind of got to the point where you just had to do it. You had to pull the plug, and the Yankees kind of fought and clawed the decision, but they finally did it.
They finally did it, and Boone had to do it. I mean, I give Boone credit for doing it because it went on too long. He was so bad, so bad. I mean, there's like 11 blown saves in 2 months. It just can't go on. You can't win a World Series doing it that way. You'd rather go by committee at this point. Rather go by committee than have him be the closer.
Yeah, you would, and you hope maybe somebody finds it. Somebody just has a really good night because again, Holmes is fine when there's nobody on base, but the minute somebody gets on base, it's like usually where the problems lie for him, and he just loses it, and it just goes rogue for him. It just it doesn't go well for him. So yeah, it's something they have to figure out in the month of October when they get there. Does Nestor get to close out a game? I don't think they're going to use Heel, but like maybe he'd be somebody. If you're worried about the innings limit, maybe. But yeah, it's they're gonna have to close by committee. They finally did it. I think Boone had to too, and he probably wanted the media to stop asking him too, because I know he always gets fed up with the media about that. So he gets more fed at the media than it does his own players. And
that's a problem. I can't stand the fact that happens. I can't stand the fact you guys start getting, but they won't do it because it's been this way for 7 years. So he won't get fed up with the players. He'll just get fed up with the media. But we'll see if that ends up working in October. We'll see that. But now, speaking of the team that's trying to put a damper in the Yankees Yankees winning the AL East, they come to the Bronx this weekend to face the Yankees. And I think in this series, the Yankees, they really haven't. It doesn't look like they've announced any starters for these games. But you look at the Red Sox, they got Chris Wall pitching on Thursday, Hawk pitching Friday, Bello on Saturday, and Crawford on Sunday. I think the Yankees take 2 out of 3 here. I don't really like the Red Sox. I don't really like the way the Red Sox are playing right now. Now, I mean, I know they're 4 games out and they're still technically in it, but I think this is the weekend the Red Sox get buried. The Yankees bury them and pretty much end their season. I think they do. And that's why this weekend, I think the Yankees take 3 out of 4. I think the Yankees take 3 out of 4 and bury the Red Sox. I'm
going to say 2 out of 3. This Yankee team hasn't played great against Boston this year. Boston's been going up the side.
It's a 4-game series.
Oh, it's a 4, yeah. They take 2 out of 4, yeah. They'll split it. They'll split it. I think they'll split it. I think Corey's going to have those guys going in there playing well. I know it's been very up and down for them of late. I know the last time they entered New York, they looked horrendous against the Mets, but they've fought through it. And, I know they had the chance of the rubber match tonight. I know they blew it Sunday for the sweep, but they still won the series against the White Sox. But I think Corey will have those guys in there fighting and trying to damper the Yankees' hopes a little bit. So, again, Corey versus Boone, too, is just, it's not even close. Wise of managerial wise of guys I trust.
Yeah, I definitely got to agree there. But here's the thing with the Red Sox and the Yankees, though. Since the Red Sox blew that game in July, they really they haven't been that good. And I just think the Yankees, they have more confidence with the Red Sox, and I just think this means more. I know the Red Sox still have a chance, and we'll get to that, but I just think it means more for the Yankees this weekend. They're neck and neck with the Orioles. I think it means more for the Yankees. Weird, we had to root for the Red Sox this week. We had to root for the Red Sox this week because they're playing the Orioles.
I'm still cheering for the O's. I can't do it.
Really? Wow. No, yeah,
I can't. If I didn't work for the radio's side, radio network, I probably would cheer for the Red Sox, but I can't.
They're just
I can't
so
cheer
annoying.
for the Red Sox. I can't. Yeah, I can't do it.
I have to do
tough.
it. I have to do it this week because they're playing. They're 10 games out. I mean, so it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I have to do it this week because the Orioles are right there. The Orioles are right there with the Yankees. So yeah, I think that the Yankees take 3 out of 4. I'm confident they take 3 out of 4 this weekend. I know that they've lost some series they shouldn't have against Washington and against the Cardinals. I know they've lost series they shouldn't have, but this weekend in Chicago they won 2 out of 3. So I mean, I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Texas, but they won 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. So I think they take 3 out of 4 here. I really do. I think they do.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if they could. I'm excited now that we got Dominguez finally up here. And Verdugo. The minute he got called up, Verdugo hits a home run. He had a pretty good night. So put some pressure on Verdugo, and I know he's going to be motivated playing Boston. So hopefully he's got a good weekend and could bury the Red Sox himself. I know he would love to do that. But yeah, again, if I hope they get 3 out of 4 this week. I think but it's just one of those things, man, where against Boston, I can't get too confident that they'll win 3 against an Alex Cora-led team and the way he manages games. And I know they're still fighting. I know they still feel like they have a slim chance right now. The Tigers are playing well. The Mariners, they're okay. The lineups just hasn't been great for them, but yeah, if they could, again, because if they take 2 out of 3 and say the Twins, Tigers, Mariners lose a couple games this weekend, maybe they're a game back, and again, maybe they're a game back of that final wild card spot, and they're right in the race. So I know the Red Sox had a ton of divisional games, but I don't, I think they'll be up there fired up, ready to go.
And I think they'll be fired up. And talking about them now, being 4 games out of the wild card, do you still think they have a chance? I still think they have a really small chance. They have a really small chance. But if they get buried this week, if they lose 3 out of 4 this weekend, I think it's over. I think it is because they probably would be 5 games out of a wild card spot with having to leap over Detroit too, and even Seattle. So I think they have to at least split this weekend, have any chance to do anything for the rest of the year. It's very slim they make the playoffs, but I think they have to take like 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4 to have any chance of competing for that spot. If they lose 3 out of 4 and they're 5 games out, I think that's it for the Sox.
Yeah, I think it very possibly could be. And next weekend, the Twins come in for 3. So if they can kind of hang around, just be like 2 back going in, you can take 2 out of 3 from a Twins team right now that's not playing well. It's certainly possible that they could find themselves in that final spot or right there. So I do think it's slim, but I think they continue to play well down the next week or so before the Twins get here or get Twins good at Boston, and they're still in the race and they have a good weekend. Yeah, I think there could be. I could think they could still be lively, but yeah, I think it does start this weekend. They got to steal. Probably think they'd love. Like to get 2, but I think they'd love to somehow go into New York and get 3.
Yeah, I think they definitely have to. I think they definitely have to get 3 out of 4 against the Yankees. But that's going to wrap it up for Sports Talk with R&J this week. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week talking about week 3 of the NFL season, week 4 of the college football season, and the AL East race. As the AL East race continues to come down to the wire, we'll be continuing to talk about that. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All 4 Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Stinky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.